So, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Can you hear me? So I can see a lot of answers. So it's a pleasure to have you here again. We have about 32 people listening, which is good. I appreciate that, even though a lot of people are still missing. So anyway, we will continue normally. I have also checked your decision from and your decisions from last period concerning the game, the Star Wars game. Actually, there are still some missing parts. Basically, the most important is that mainly in the group A, which is at 11 o'clock, there are basically all the negotiation forms or the negotiation agreements are not submitted yet. So I think these need to be confirmed yet. So basically, if we have some time left, we can even today ask some questions if you have some questions related to Star Wars concerning the game, because I would like really to finalize or the complete decision from the period for the period 2, because tomorrow I would like to give you the feedback, definitely. That's the goal. Now, concerning the group B at 12:45, the situation seems much better. There is only one decision missing, which is the decision from manufacturer one, I think. But I will check it anyway. I will show you. I will show you exactly what is missing there, and what we need to finish. Because if you are able to finish all the decisions today, then I will check it. I will have a look at it, and I will see the development of the game. And tomorrow I can give you a feedback. So that's basically my aim. If not, then definitely we need to do it tomorrow. But it would be much better to complete it today. Maybe we can just take a very short look at the game. So I will try to show you my screen again. So let's see. Just a second. So now you should see my screen basically. Uh, and you can see that in the group A, if we look at the process, uh, there is one decision missing, which is the retailer one. Retailer one decision is missing there. So maybe it's basically there is something mentioned there, but it's not like submitted. So you should submit. Retailer one should submit the decision definitely. And what I'm also missing here are all those negotiation agreements are not submitted. So when these are blue and not green, these are not submitted. So these need to be submitted basically. So that's the task to finish today. If we have some time left during the lecture today, you can ask me some questions, but later on after the lecture. So this is the first point I would like to highlight. And if I look at the second group, the group B, it looks almost perfect. And there is only one file, basically one decision missing, and that's the manufacturer one.
Yeah, excuse me. Speaking on behalf of
Yeah.
manufacturers one, will submit the decisions by today because we were super tired after negotiations yesterday.
No problem. So I really appreciate the group B has done a big effort, and you are almost done. So if you just submit the M1 decision, I will make the simulation for you, and tomorrow you will see the feedback. So if I come back to the group 1, maybe can you give me any feedback on the group 1, because you can talk, you can use the microphone. It's fine.
Hello.
Excuse me,
Hello.
we are the group manufacturers 1. Are we written there as submitted or not, the decision?
Which one? So you are
Manufacturer 1.
manufacturer 1 is submitted. That's fine. Manufacturer 1 is all right. Manufacturer 2 is all right. Manufacturer 3 is all right. The only decision I'm missing from the group A is retailer 1. Is there anybody from retailer 1?
Yeah, I'm from retailer 1, but we have an issue with point of sales. So for point of sales, we can only have 2 products from Foodles and 2 products from Googles.
Yes.
Okay, so that's our issue. We have to probably negotiate it more today because we accidentally have.
Yeah, do it, please. And also, I need the negotiations to be submitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
These all the negotiations are still blue, and I need to have them in green color. So basically, after that is finished, I can just play the simulation. Yeah. So definitely, if you want, we can even use some spare time we have left in the end today, let's say, and if you need something, you can ask. So
I have something to ask. Excuse me, May. Speaking of points of sales, I'm not sure how it actually works because, for example, we paid something to retailers, like some amount for the POS.
Yeah.
And now it means that they will put the products to the better place, or they have to they have to make some like decision in their interface, like not in negotiation part, but in the, I don't know how can we be sure that they'll actually use the POS that we pay them?
Actually, as far as I know, there should only be space for 2 POS in each category, and usually if they promise more than 2, they only can use 2, and the system will choose the 2 highest payments. So so it will be chosen according to the 2 highest payments, I think. So it should work like that, definitely. So if there is already this comment mentioned in the agreement, and your payment is like among the 2 highest, then you should get it. And that's it. You don't need to make anything else, basically.
All right.
That should be all right, definitely.
Okay.
All right, good. So if you don't have any other questions so far, you can ask later, no problem. So I would like to switch to the presentation.
I'm sorry, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm listening.
So you said that we have to submit these negotiations, and so yesterday we sent our decision, and now I'm checking whether how to send these negotiations, and it's impossible. I don't understand how shall we do it, because on the website it's written that the decision is already sent and we cannot send anything else.
And the negotiation is not fixed, right? So that's strange because you should normally enter like the negotiation form, and then there should be some button really to send it. So maybe you can check it also with your counterparts, basically with the other company you have negotiated. I think that it should work like that. And if not, then I think the simulation should be also possible without submitting maybe the negotiations, but I'm not sure about it. So I need to try. I need to try because I haven't done it before. So you should be able to send it, because all groups have done it. In the group B, they have all submitted basically the negotiation forms. So you can maybe ask your colleagues how they did it, because I don't see it in my interface, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
So if we switch already to the presentation today, so I will I should switch it here, I think. Just a second. And I will start the presentation. Yeah. So today, we should be talking about the kind of benchmarking. And yeah, the presentation is still opening, I think so. And it's called reserves. So I will show you how to calculate the so-called reserves, which is related to benchmarking as well. So maybe in the beginning, you can try to tell me, what do you think? What's the meaning of benchmarking and what's the meaning of reserves? Can you tell me, anybody? What's the meaning of reserves? It looks like the presentation doesn't want to open. I don't know why. Yeah, I will try again. So can you see the presentation now?
Only the headline.
Yeah, the headline is all right. So I have just started. It seems to be a bit slow. So the headline is all right. So maybe could you tell me if you already have any feeling what's the meaning of reserve? Do you understand? Do you have any kind of meaning, or do you have any kind of understanding about it? What's the meaning of it? Could you tell me? Yeah. Can you hear me or not? Because I think there is a problem, technical problem or something, because the presentation doesn't work actually. Can you hear me so far?
Yes, but we don't know.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know how to make the presentation work, because it obviously, maybe I will try to restart the system, and after I restart the system, let's try again, because it's I'm trying to open the presentation so far, but it seems to be kind of slow or something. So let's wait for a while. If you have any questions, you can still keep on asking. But let's wait. It's really strange.
Excuse me, I have a question regarding the game.
Okay.
I want to ask, like, what's actually what's the purpose of Retailer 3? Like, I mean, like in the period 1, like between period 0 and period 1, you're shipping some of the goods to the Retailer 3, and now, like, how do we control the amount of products that we'll be shipping to Retailer 3? Or is there any, or he just buys out of stock that we'll have left, or?
Yeah, basically they can buy anything what is left. They don't, you cannot control that. They just buy from you automatically. So you should not be able to control that, definitely.
Okay, thanks.
It should be all right. Yeah, I'm still trying to open a presentation, but I'm a little bit lost. So I'm sorry for that. I will try again. It might be the slow computer, or it can be the problem somewhere in the system. No idea. Because now it's opening, and it's so slow actually. If I do this. No, it doesn't work, unfortunately. I don't know what's happening, really. You can't see it, right? The presentation. Because
just headline.
The headline. I don't see anything here.
So maybe just try to restart the call.
Yeah, well, what I can try, maybe I can open the presentation on the screen, and I will show you the screen. That could be also possible. Let's try that. Just a second, like this. And can you see it now?
Yes.
Because now I have switched to the screen. Still, can you see it well? Analysis of reserves.
Yes.
Good. So basically, I can start just like this now, and the idea is it's related to benchmarking, which means that we are going to compare our company to the competition, let's say, and we are going to find out where we have some space for improvement. So basically, reserves can be understood as the lacks or some shortcomings in business performance, basically. So we are looking at where we can improve. Let's say if we can improve in sales, if we can improve in profitability, etc., etc. So basically, reserve is a difference between a kind of real value of the indicator and the optimum value of the indicator. So basically, we are looking for some kind of space for improvement. So basically, in accounting, you have understood reserves in a different way. Here we understand reserve as something where we should improve so far. So that's the idea. Everybody understand so far? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right. So even though you can write, and you can even use your microphone, so it's all right. And I will get back to the presentation. So maybe now you can think about what kind of indicators we are using, and it depends. It depends if the optimum value of the indicator should be the highest possible, or if the optimum value of the indicator should be the lowest possible. And now you can tell me what indicators should have the high optimum value, which indicators should be the highest possible. And you can even use your microphone and you can tell me, can you give me any examples of indicators which should be as high as possible? Could you tell me which indicators should be as high as possible? Okay, I can see revenue indicators. That's all right, absolutely. Any examples for revenue indicators, for example? Any exact indicators?
It's like EVA maybe.
Like EVA should be high, definitely. I do understand. Profitability, profits should be high. What other indicators should be as high as possible? Profit, yeah.
Market share.
Market share should be as high as possible. What else?
Margins.
Margins should be high. What else? Anything hasn't been mentioned yet? What else? Brand awareness. Good. Nice. What else? You are retailers, so you need to sell. So basically the first indicator you are interested in are, how do we call it? Simply sales. Good. So basically sales should be as high as possible. So you understand that those indicators should be high. On the other hand, we have indicators with low optimum value. That's basically the other option. So now you can give me any examples of those indicators with low optimum values. Material costs.
Inventory and fixed costs as well.
Fixed costs. Costs of goods sold, for example. Anything else would be there? You know, anything, basically anything which is related to costs should be low. So that's all right. Costs of goods sold, material costs, operating costs, overheads, maintenance costs, etc. So basically these indicators should be as low as possible. And that's why we will call those indicators with high optimum value, we will call them as performance indicators. And those indicators with low optimum value should be called as costs indicators. So we have two options. Either we are going to analyze the indicators called as performance indicators, or we will analyze indicators called as cost indicators. And we will recognize basically 4 degrees, 4 levels of reserves according to the benchmark we use, according to what kind of benchmark we use. And now let's look at the data. I will show you the data. Sorry, here we have the data. And we have basically a group of 10 companies here, group of 10 companies, and we have information about sales, and we have information about costs. So we have two indicators, sales and costs. If we look at sales, so you can see there are like 10 companies with different sales. And now, using those figures, sales, we are going to identify 4 benchmarks, basically. Based on the sales indicators, we are going to identify 4 benchmarks, which we will use for the comparison of, let's say, our performance and the benchmark. And now, I would like to ask you again, if you could give me any examples, what kind of benchmarks we can use based on the figures of sales. So let's say we are company 2. Let's say we are company 2. So our sales are 105. And we would like to compare ourselves with the rest of the companies. So there are like 9 remaining companies, and we have information about those companies. And now we need to set the benchmarks according to the competition, competing company sales. So the idea is, what would be the benchmark for us? What do you think? What would be the most important benchmark for us, being the company 2, let's say? And you can write me your answer, so you can answer using the microphone as you wish. So what do you think?
Like the percentile that like
so
how do we do in comparison to others?
Yeah.
High sales and the low sales?
Definitely, we should compare ourselves to the rest. Percentile, that would be one idea, definitely, but don't make it too difficult, make it easy. And just tell me, imagine you are one company, you are a part of the whole market. So let's say, let's take a look at the companies. There are 10 companies, you are company number 2, 105. And so what's the most important one you would like to compare to? Which company would be the benchmark for you here? What do you think? Any idea?
6.
Sorry?
Number 6.
Number 6, okay. So number 6
with the highest sales
is the highest, has the highest sales, 150. That's absolutely perfect. So basically, this is the highest benchmark for you. So the best one with the sales of 150 should be the benchmark number 1. And you are absolutely right. You should always compare yourself to the best one. But not only. I told you there will be 4 benchmarks. So this is benchmark number 1. What else can you use as the benchmark? Think about statistics. Think about statistics. What kind of statistics can you calculate out of these numbers? The mean, okay, or maybe compared to that closest to us. All right, you can also find the closest to us. That's all right. But I mean, using the statistics, you should be able to compare the average and the mean. So that will be the second benchmark, definitely. Anything else? Do you think would be possible to calculate out of these data? Besides the mean, what else can you calculate from the numbers? Any other idea?
Like cost for sales, how much money we spend for production or buying the goods.
All right.
And
all right.
We sold it.
I understand, but still, I think you should only take into account the sales. If you just take into account the sales, what statistic measure can you calculate besides the average?
Market share.
Yeah, well, I don't have numbers. I don't have the data here, so you need to come out from the sales. Well, market share would be possible to do, but I mean, just what else can you calculate from the numbers? I mean, only. Any idea? What about the media? Okay. Anything else? What about the variance? How can you do you understand how to compare to calculate the variance? Do you know how to calculate variance? And what's the square root from the variance? How this is called? The standard deviation, yes. So that's what we want, standard deviation. And we are going to calculate the standard deviation, of course. So yeah, you are right. So now I can show you, using my presentation, that we have basically 4 levels, let's imagine, of reserves. First level, second level, third level, and fourth level. The first level, or the benchmark for the first level, is calculated as the average minus the standard deviation. The second level, or the benchmark for the second level, is calculated as the average. And the benchmark for the third level is calculated as the so-called progressive average. And the benchmark for the fourth level is the maximum value, 150. I believe you don't know yet how to calculate the progressive average. Any idea what's the meaning of the progressive average? Do you know? No idea? Okay. No problem. You can think about the progressive average. What's the meaning of it? No idea, really? Progressive average. You can think it should be, progressive average should be somewhere in between the average and the maximum. So it should be the average from something above the average. Still no idea how to calculate the progressive average. No problem. I can tell you. Basically, the progressive average is calculated as the average from the upper average values. So if you want to calculate the progressive average, you choose all numbers which are higher than the average and calculate the average out of these numbers. So progressive average is the average from the above the average values. Is that clear? Like the moving average, maybe kind of, but it's easy. So you basically choose those figures which are above the average, sorry, and you calculate the average from the higher values than the average. I will give you maybe some time, and you can even try to calculate that, and you can understand. Is it clear so far how the progressive average is calculated?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, and now this is basically how it works. And once we have all the benchmarks calculated, we can determine what kind of reserves the company has. So imagine if the company is here somewhere, then it has the reserves of the first level, second level, third level, and fourth level. It means that it's really very low with sales. It's even lower than the average minus the standard deviation. So in that case, it's very low in the sales, and it has the reserves of all levels. When the company is here, it has the reserves of the second level, third level, and fourth level. If the company is located here at the top, it only has the reserves of the 4th level. Is it clear so far? Is it clear so for everybody, the meaning of the levels? Any questions so far?
I'm sorry, can you like summarize the levels once again, like without the averages and without the just the.
No problem, I can. So once again, if the company, let's say, is located here below the average minus the standard deviation, it means the levels, the sales are very low. So in that case, it has the reserves of the 1st level, 2nd level, 3rd level, and 4th level. So it's doing very badly. When it's doing a little bit better, and the sales are somewhere like between the average and the average minus the standard deviation, it has only the level of the 2nd level, 3rd level, and 4th level. When it's between the progressive average and average, it has the reserves of the 3rd level and 4th level. And if it's between the maximum and the progressive average, then it has only the reserves of the 4th level. And if it's at the top, if it's the best company from the pack, if it's the best company from the group, it has no reserves, basically, because it has no space for improvement in that case. Is it clear enough? Like this? For everybody? Just give me questions, please. Comment. You can talk, you can use a microphone if you want. No problem.
It's clear, thank you.
So that's for the performance indicator. Yeah, so once again, that's the performance indicator. And you have, basically, once again, if I summarize, you have the reserves in that case when you are below the benchmark, But in the case of the costs indicator, is the other way around, because you have the reserve in the case you are above the benchmark. So let's see. So the first benchmark in this case is calculated as the average plus standard deviation. Average and the standard deviation. The second level is, again, you can tell me, what's the second level benchmark? Use a microphone, please, tell me.
Just an average?
Yes, the third level is the progressive average, but in that case, in this case, it's calculated as the below the average values. Progressive average here is calculated from all values below the average. And the fourth level, it's the best one, basically. And that's, what kind of value is this one for the cost indicator? Tell me, anybody? Could you tell me what? Sorry?
Like the minimum cost?
Yeah, that's the company which has the minimum costs, X minimum. So that's the meaning of basically for the cost indicator. And so basically, here it works like this. When you are at the top somewhere, so basically you have costs higher than the average plus standard deviation. You have reserves of the first level, second level, third level, and fourth level. The same when you are like here, when you are between the average plus standard deviation and the average, then you have the reserves of the second level, third level, and fourth level. When you are in between here, then you have the reserves of what level? Somebody could tell me, please. When you are here, what levels do you have? You can use the microphone. When you are here, what levels do you have?
Like what levels of reserves?
Yes.
Third and fourth.
Yeah. Here you have the third and fourth, and that's it. And when you are here below the progressive, then you have only the fourth level. And when you are the best, when you have the minimum costs, then you don't have any reserves. You don't have any space for improvement, basically. That's how it works. It works the other way around in comparison to the performance indicator. So can you see the difference, right? Costs and performance indicators. That's the difference, basically. Any questions so far? Are there any questions? I'm sorry, it's a little bit mathematics, but it works like that. And I think it's a good example, and we can even use it. We can use it in the test. I think this kind of calculation. And now I can show you how to calculate it. So you can follow me. And so let's say now we will calculate the reserves in the case of the sales indicator. So we have 10 companies, information about 10 sales. The first we need to make is to calculate the average, which is 123. Then we need to calculate the standard deviation, which is 15.2. And then we need to calculate the progressive average, which is 136. And finally, we need to find out the company which is the best, 150. So now we have all the information we need. I hope you can calculate the average, and I hope you can calculate the standard deviation. But of course, I will give you some space afterwards, and you can try. You can try to calculate it on your own. So now you can just follow me, and we will set the benchmarks. So the first benchmark is going to be 107.8, which is basically the average minus the standard deviation. The second benchmark is you already know what is the second benchmark. That's the average, 123. The third benchmark is 136. And the fourth benchmark, the best one, is 150. So once you have calculated all these numbers, you should definitely take the data and you should sort the data like this. So at the top, you have the best one, the best company, 115. And at the bottom, you have the worst company, which has sales of 100. You can see. And now we will draw the lines for the benchmarks here. So we take the first one, the first benchmark, which is 107.8. And you can already tell me between which companies the line is. Between which companies is going to be this benchmark. You can use the microphone.
9 and 2.
9 and 2. Like this.
Yep.
So basically, companies 2 and 10 have reserves of the first level, second level, third level, and fourth level. Then the second benchmark is going to be 123. So it will be between what companies? Could you tell me?
4 and 8.
Exactly. So here we are, and we can see that companies 9, 3, and 8 have reserves of the second level, and also third level and fourth level. Then we have the third benchmark, which is 136. That's in between the companies. Could you tell me?
5 and 7.
Yes, here we go. And so we understand that companies 1, 7, and 4 have reserves of the third level and fourth level. And finally, company 6 is the best one. So the line is just below the company 6. And we understand that company 5 has the reserve of the fourth level. And you can see that company 6 is the best one, which means that the company 6 has no space for improvement, and company 6 has no reserves. Company 6 has no reserves. So I can ask you again, just to make a practice. Let's look at company number 3 and tell me, somebody please tell me, what reserves does company 3 have? You can write it down. Company 3, what reserves does it have? This one. Could you tell me, just to check? What reserves does company 3 have? Please tell me. I would like to understand that you understand it, please.
Reserves of second, third, and fourth level, meaning it's
yes, that's correct. Then what about company 10?
All the levels?
All the levels. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth. What about company 7? Tell me, please. What about company 7? What levels does it have?
Third and fourth.
Yes, exactly. So once again, when you are not sure about what levels the company has, make a picture like this. Draw the lines there, and you can't make a mistake. And always, when you are still not sure about it, you should think that the company has the reserves only when it is below, the benchmark. In the case of performance indicator, when it's below. So these companies are below. That's why they have the first level, etc. But company 6, it's above all the benchmarks. So it doesn't have any reserves. And when the company doesn't have any reserves, we are not going to even calculate it. That's the meaning. That's how the calculation is done. So I hope so far you understand it. It's not difficult. It's just a simple calculation and simple comparison. Everybody's happy so far? Just send me a message, please. I need to be sure. Okay. I can see some answers. So it's clear enough, hopefully. Yes, all right. No. If you have any questions, just ask, no problem. You can ask anytime. So, and now I will move on because the reserves can even be calculated as values. And how to make the calculation? Let's take a look at it. The first level is calculated like this, and it's easy. So you take the benchmark, which is the average minus the standard deviation, minus my value, like the value of the company, divided by the value of the company. So let's say if my value is 100 And if the benchmark is 105, so I will take 105 minus 100 divided by 100 times 100, and I will get a percentage expression if I multiply it by 100. The second level is calculated as the average minus my value, like the real value of the company, divided by the value of the company times 100. And the same for the third level, which is the progressive average, minus my value divided the value times 100. And finally, the fourth level is calculated as the maximum minus the value of the company divided by the value of the company. So that's how the reserves are calculated in real figures, let's say, in percentages. And now I will show you, let's say, company 2. So for company 2, it works like this. Maybe we can get back to the data so that you can see. So now we are going to calculate company 2. So company 2 is here. So it's not doing very well. It obviously has all the reserves. It has all the shortcomings. So it needs to improve a lot. So it only has 105. And then if we calculate it very simply. So we take always the benchmark and calculate the real value. So for the reserve number 1, so we take the first benchmark, which is the average minus the standard deviation, minus 105 divided by 105, and we get 2.67%. The second one is calculated the same way. So we take the average minus the value of the company divided by the value of the company, and we get 17.14%. And the same we get for the third level and for the fourth level. So here, for example, for the fourth level, it's 150 minus the value of the company, which is like 105 divided by 105, and we get 42.86%. That's how this is calculated. But the question is, what's the meaning of the percentage? For example, if I have the outcome here that the reserve is 42.86%, what does it mean for me when I am in the position of company number 2, which is doing very badly, just 105? So and I get this calculation and I find out that I have my reserve 42.86%. What does it mean for me? What's the explanation of this figure? Could you tell me? What's the meaning of the percentage? Any idea how to explain the meaning?
Maybe they spend more than they have profits from sales.
Okay, but I mean, what's the meaning of this calculation? Because when I compare myself with the best, 150 minus 105 divided by 105 times 100, and I get 42.86%. What does it mean for me, that percentage?
I think the lower percentage is the better situation for the companies. I mean, yeah. if you have, for example, I don't know the number of the company, but if the sales, for example, 145, then the percentage will be something like a very low number, 3 or 4%. So it's like the better situation with the company in perspective.
Yeah, definitely. That's perfect. That's fine. But why do we have this percentage actually? Why? Because we normally get the percentage so that I calculate the difference and I divide the difference by the value I have now. So it says, what does it say to me, basically, this percentage? Exactly. What information does it bring to me? Any idea? Yeah, the bigger the, yeah?
Could be loss, maybe. Kind of.
Okay, but for example here, the reserve of the fourth level, 42.86%. What does it say? It means that I need to improve by 42.86% in order to get at the level of the best one. That's the meaning. Basically, it says to me how much I need to improve in order to get at the level of the benchmark, to get at the level of the best one, to get at the level of the average, to get at the level of the progressive average, let's say, etc. So that's the meaning, basically. And here it says that I need to improve by 29.52% in order to get at the level of the progressive average. That's the meaning, basically. Because it says, it gives you the information how much you should improve in order to get to the benchmark to which you compare yourself. That's the meaning of this calculation. Clear enough? Is it clear for you at this level? Everybody understands? Please send me a message if yes or not. If you have any questions, you can ask, please. So I have one answer only. How many are you here? Let's have a look. 37, okay.
How to understand exact numbers? Like we see the percentage, like 42, we have to improve on, but basically based on the sales and costs, how we can...
Don't think about costs now. This is just based on the sales. It's just one indicator. That's it, nothing else. So you basically take only one indicator, you compare yourself with the whole market, let's say, with all your competitors, and based on that comparison you will find out, okay, when I want to be like the best one in sales, I need to improve by 43%. When I want to be at the level of the average of my competition, I need to improve by 17.14%. When I want to be at the level of the average minus the standard deviation, I need to improve by 3%. That's it. That's the meaning. Nothing else. So
but these numbers is actually depends on the sales, on profit margin, fixed cost, and so on. Like
of course, yeah, but
everything, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But this is like, but when you do the benchmarking, you don't care about all those. This is just the outcome, you know. Just don't look for anything difficult about it. It's just this simple, nothing else. If you understand it well, we can take a short or maybe even a longer look at the calculation of the costs indicator. So now I would like to show you how to calculate the same for the costs. So let's see. So here we can see the costs in the right column. Here we have the costs of the companies. So we will calculate the reserves for all those 10 companies, but for the costs, only for the costs. Now we can forget about the sales. So the first thing we need to do is to basically calculate from these numbers the average, the standard deviation, and the progressive average from all the values below the average value. So maybe, I don't know if we can do it like this, but those who have a calculator, you can try. You can already try to calculate the average. Even though I have it in my presentation, don't look at it and try to calculate the average. Is there anybody who can calculate the average, and is there anybody who can calculate the standard deviation now, please? So that we can check it and we can try to make it. These are the figures. Now you need to calculate the average out of these figures and the standard deviation. Can you do it, please, somebody? I can give you time, 5 minutes, no problem, so that you can try to make it. Okay, I can see the average is 230.2. Maybe you can see it in my presentation already. And what about the standard deviation? Can you calculate the standard deviation from these numbers? You can just use the Excel. That's fine. It's also doable. Is anybody calculating the standard deviation or not? Normally in the classroom I would make it happen, but here I don't know how to force you actually. Yeah, there's somebody trying to calculate that. You know, when you have a computer in Excel, there is a function called standard deviation, and that's it. You can use that even. So here are the figures. Maybe I can wait for a while still. Please show the numbers. Yes, I will. Here are the numbers. Let's try. We still have time. We still have about 20 minutes left, so use them, please. And if you want, you can even try to calculate the so-called progressive average. And the progressive average is going to be calculated from the below the average values. Below the average values. So you know the average is 230.2. 230.2 is the average. So basically all the numbers which are below the average should be calculated for the progressive average. Is there anybody calculating the progressive average, please? Yeah, I can see one number. 5.65 already. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Looks like there are some people who know how to calculate and who understand statistics. So you can see now we are using statistics in retailing. Anybody would like to calculate also the progressive average, please? Progressive average from the below the average values. Is there anybody to make it, please? Yeah, I can see some more answers. Good. 5.6. 5.6, that's the outcome for the standard deviation. That's absolutely correct. And now, how to calculate the progressive average? No answer for the progressive average yet. I can wait for a while. 235. You know, I think it's too high, isn't it? It's too high because it should be lower. It should be below the average. Basically, if you want to calculate the progressive average and you know the average is 230, then you need to pick just the figures which are below. It's 227, 231, 223, 229, 227, and 221. And from these figures, you should calculate the average. And you get the progressive average. So 225, 225 sounds better. All right. I will show you the figures. So let's see the figures. So the average is 230.2. Standard deviation is 5.6. You were right. And the progressive average is 225.4. And the minimum is 221. You can see these are the numbers, and you were correct. Basically, I'm happy. I'm happy that you have done it. If there are any questions, you can ask. So this is just the statistics. So we can move on. We can move on. And I can say, now let's check the first benchmark. The first benchmark is going to be the average plus standard deviation. Second benchmark is the average. Third benchmark, progressive average. Fourth benchmark, minimum. So the first one is going to be 235.8. The second one is going to be 230.20. The third level is the progressive average, 225.40. And the fourth level is the minimum. So I hope so far it's clear. And now we can sort the data. How to make the data sorted? Make it the same way as in the performance indicator. The highest should be at the top. The smallest should be at the bottom. So company 2 is the worst because they have the highest cost. Company 10 is the best. They have the lowest cost. And now we can set the benchmarks. First benchmark is here. Second benchmark is where? Could you tell me what companies? Using the microphone, please. What is the second level?
4 and 8.
4 and 8. Great. The third level is between. You can tell
9
me.
and 6.
9 and 6. And the last one is between 6 and 10. So, and that's the same situation. And now I can ask you, and you should tell me, what levels has the company 2? What kind of reserves has the company 2?
Oh.
Tell me. All of them, right? So company 2 has the first, second, third, and fourth. What about the company 3, let's say? What about the company 3? What levels does the company 3 have?
Third and fourth.
Third and fourth level. What about the company number 6? Number 6. Here. What levels does it have? Could you tell me? Number 6.
Only the fourth one.
Yeah, just the fourth level. Oh, maybe just one more. What about company 7? It has number. What kind? What could you use a microphone, please?
Level
2, 3, and 4.
Exactly, that's perfect. So those, sorry, those who have answered obviously understand perfectly. Once again, if you are not sure what levels they have, the companies, ask a question. Are we above the benchmark? If we are above the benchmark, then we do have the reserves, like company 2. It's above the first, second, third, and fourth. Yes, they have all of them. They have all the reserves. Company 3 is just above the third and fourth, so it has only the third and fourth level. So you can see it's just so easy like this. Yeah, so basically it's nothing more complicated about it. And now I will show you how to calculate it, how to make the calculation. The same as the last time, but the other way around. So for the first level, we make the calculation like this. We take the value of the company, this is the value of the company, minus the benchmark, this is the benchmark, and divided by the value of the company. So basically, the value minus the first benchmark, which is the average, plus the standard deviation, and divided by the value. Second level, like this. We take the value of the company minus the benchmark, which is the average, divided by the value of our company. And the third level will be our company basically minus the benchmark divided by the company value. And the fourth level goes like this. So we will take the value of the company minus the minimum divided by the value of the company. So it's nothing more difficult like this. So you can see it's the other way around. It's the other way around if you compare it to the performance indicator. And once again, basically, if you calculate this and the value of the reserve is 0 or the value is negative, it means there is no reserve. So negative reserve don't exist. There is no reserve in that case. So only positive values are taken into account. And now I will show you the example of company 2 again, because we already understand that the company 2 is doing a bad job, so it has high costs and low sales. So it will obviously have all the reserves. And if we make the calculation, we will find out that the first level is 1.34%. The second level is going to be 3.68%. The third level is 5.69%. And the fourth level is 7.53%. So you can see the values are different from the performance indicator, let's say. How do you understand it? What's actually the explanation that here the values, the percentages, are not so high? Why do you think so? What's the explanation to that? Do you have any explanation? Could you tell me, please? Why the reserves here are not so high? Just below 10%. And by the performance indicator, it was almost 50%. And here is just 8. Such a difference. Why? Why is there such a difference? What do you think? What do you think can be the explanation?
The difference between costs is not so significant as with the sales. I mean, from this company to the company with the minimum amount of costs. Yeah, if you look at the numbers like here, you can see them.
the worst, company 2, has 239, and the best is 221. So the difference between the worst and the best is not so big as you say. When you calculated the standard deviation, it was just 5.2 or something like that. So the standard deviation was small. So it means the variance between the values is very small. So basically the differences between the companies are just minimum. So that's why in the end the reserves are also quite low, not very high. Which is the difference between the performance indicator, because in the case of the performance indicator, the variance, the standard deviation was like 15. And that's the explanation, basically. So basically, the group of companies is not so it's not so different inside. So that's the explanation here in that case. So once again, if the company number 2 would like to improve and they would like to reduce the cost at the level of the best one, they should improve by 7.53%. If they would like to improve, let's say, to the level of the average, they would need to reduce the costs by 3.68%. That's the meaning. Nothing else, nothing more. That's it. So it's not too complicated, I believe. So that's basically how the reserves are calculated. I have even more tasks for you. We can take a look at the tasks.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Can we combine both of the indicators? I mean, the cost indicator and the second one, performance one, in order to assess like the best company on the market?
Yes, we can.
Is it possible?
I'm thinking. Yeah, you can maybe then make the average from the reserves or something like that. That's also possible.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I think. Yeah, you can, because basically in each indicator the reserves must be calculated separately, and then maybe you can make a ranking, and then you can make 2 rankings and make an average out of those, or you can calculate the reserves and then make an average from the reserves. I think that's also possible. And because there are companies which perform outstandingly in sales and have high costs, etc. So it's counterbalancing. It's the offset sometimes. So definitely, yes, I think you can do whatever you want, but if you want to really calculate the reserves, then it's much better to calculate it only for one indicator all the time. Any other questions? Has it been clear enough for you? Because my idea, is to make an exercise like this and put it into the midterm test, but I don't know. I have no idea how to make the midterm test. So we still need to decide on that. So, but normally I make an exercise like this and I put it into the midterm test. So have you understood it? Just send me a message, maybe. Yeah, when would the midterm test be? My best guess, my best suggestion so far is to make the midterm in the end of April, because I will have already all the calculations finished with you, and I will be able to prepare maybe some kind of online version of the test. So that's the idea, to make it like no later than the end of April. And I really don't believe that the school will be open, because it's going to last a bit longer, in my opinion. And the schools and universities and public places are going to be closed maybe until the end of the semester. So we need to survive online somehow. And it's doable, I think. So That's my suggestion so far. And so clear enough for everybody?
We can have a test using INSYS. It's like online test, so multiply questions and so on.
Yeah, that's possible also. We can make it using INSYS, and there can be multiple choice questions, so that you can, for example, you can make the calculations on your own, and then you will choose the right answer. But I don't know how to make it happen and to prevent you from cheating, because then you can make it like collectively the test, and that's not what we want. So I still need to think about it a little bit. So that's what I need to check. But I will think about it, and we will find a solution definitely. Yeah. So if you don't have any other questions, we can eventually have a break now for like 10-15 minutes. Do you agree? Break for 15 minutes. And we can continue at 12:45 again normally. Do you agree?
Yes.
Everybody, you can write the answers even. Okay. So let's make a break now, and let's talk in about 15 minutes. So when we have some time left afterwards, we can even try to calculate some exercise. You can try to calculate some exercises, and etc. So in 15 minutes, let's get back in 15 minutes. All right. So, hello again. If you are ready, we can continue.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Ask one question. Could you go back to page 11? I have some question about the sale indicator.
Yeah. Okay.
My question is, what does mean third level at the first level? And why do I need x1 minus standard deviation? What does mean in first level? In page 11. In page 11, sale indicator.
Sales indicator. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand why do I need the first level at the third level. Usually, I think we just need the fourth level at the second level at the we can judge.
We need
our sales situation. Yeah.
We need basically all levels.
So what does mean the first level? Why do I need a minus standard deviation?
Yeah, so maybe once again I can show you the presentation of. I will switch just a second. So if you look at the presentation, this is the sales.
Yeah.
Sales
page 11. Page 11.
This is the sales indicator.
Yeah.
Performance of sales. Basically, you have 4 options to which you can compare your company. You can compare your company to the best one, which is the maximum.
Yeah.
That's the 4th level.
Yeah. The 4th level is the best.
Yeah. Then the progressive average, which is the average from the upper the average values, which are like in between the average and the maximum. Then you can compare yourself to the average of the whole market. Let's say this is the average of the whole market.
Yeah.
And the first level is the average minus the standard deviation of the whole market. So basically, it's all relative. It depends on the performance of your competitors, definitely. That's why we calculate the average, and that's why we compare the standard deviation. So if you are below the average minus the standard deviation, it means that your sales are very, very low. That's why you have the first. That's why you have the first level. First level is always the worst, basically.
Okay. Good? Okay. Yeah. And I have another question about reserve calculation. Could you go to page 12? Page 12.
Okay.
And what does mean I and G?
Yeah, basically, it's just a formal issue. It's like the company.
J is which company?
Yes.
I is which level?
It relates to this. Basically, it's the company 1 and the indicator 1, etc. So it means the indicator 1 and company 1, for example. So this is just a formal issue, and you don't need to learn that. Yeah, it's just indicator 1, company 1, or indicator 2, company 2, etc. So it's basically it's the explanation explaining what company it is and what kind of indicator it is. But for us, we have done the calculation always for company 2 and for indicator 1 or the last one, for the sales or for the cost. So this is just a formal issue.
Yeah. And how about page 14? Could you go to page 14? I only have one question. Yeah, page 14. At 2.67%, which means in next period, if our company improve 2.67%, and we will arrive level 1. Is that right?
Then we arrive at the level.
At the second one, if we increase 17.14, and we will arrive level 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Good. Okay. So let's come back. And now I have always the problem to find the presentation there. So let's see. Retail location. I will try. I need to load the presentation again. It's always gets a problem, or it's slow because never mind, I will open the presentation separately. It's not a big deal. So just a second. So can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Good. So now, again, we have a calculation, a kind of calculation exercise, which is related to the analysis of variance. Have you ever heard about analysis of variance from statistics?
Yes.
So you understand ANOVA, analysis of variance? Everybody, do you know how to calculate analysis of variance?
Honestly, I don't remember it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't remember how to.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look. So basically, we can use the analysis of variance even in retail marketing or in retail management, because, for example, we have a case. There is a company running retail stores which are located in various locations, and the idea is to find out if the location or locality has an impact on the performance indicator sales per square meter. So let's imagine we have three groups. We have three groups of companies, three groups of stores. Group A, B, and C. In each group, there are like 4 or 5 stores. There are 5 stores. And all stores in each group are located in one type of location, let's say. For example, the location A can be stores located in the city center. So these can be stores located in city centers. And you can see the sales in these stores are quite high. Then we have location or group B with 5 stores again. And these can be located, for example, in the city outskirts. And finally, we have location C, 5 stores again. And these stores can be located, for example, in the countryside. And now we would like to find out if location has an important impact on the sales, if yes or not. You can take a short look at the data, and maybe even now, just now, you can tell me, do you think that you can tell me your hypothesis if the location plays an important role or not? What do you think? If you look at the sales, is location important here, or is it's not so important? You can guess.
Sure, important.
So you guess so, right? So you can see that the sales in the location A are significantly higher, I think, than in the location C, definitely. So, and now we basically need to prove it. We need to calculate if really the sales are influenced by the location. And one of the tools how to find it is the analysis of variance. That's why statistics is also quite helpful, even in this case, in the case of retail management. What about location? I have already explained that it can be about big city centers, city outskirts, or the countryside, or it can be something a little bit different, like big city centers, shopping centers, and the sea can be industrial areas. It's not so important, but basically you can see there are quite significant differences. And now the task for us is to find out really what is more important. Basically, if the variance is bigger inside of the groups, or if the variance is bigger like in between the groups. And in order to find out, we need to make the analysis of variance. And how to calculate it? So let's take a look. This is how we can do it. Basically, the whole variance can be decomposed, it can be divided into the variance inside the groups, which is like the average of group or inside the group variances, and variance between groups, which is the variance of the group averages. So now you can see the statistics, it's the correlation with statistics. So again, this is the average of the variance inside the groups, and this is basically the variance of averages inside the groups. And according to which is bigger, we can decide if location has an important impact on the sales or not. And now we can explain how to calculate the variance inside the groups. So we can use this formula, and here you can see that basically this is the variance inside each group. So variance inside group 1, group 2, and group 3, and this is multiplied by the number of companies inside each group, and it's all divided by all the companies by, basically in our case, by 15. So once again, the variance inside the groups is calculated as the average of variances inside each group. So do you understand this formula so far? Do you understand this formula so far? Have you seen it in statistics? This kind of decomposition. You can answer, you can ask questions, whatever. Clear enough so far? May I continue? No answers. So may I go on? So basically, this is the variance inside the groups. And now let's see how to calculate the variance between the groups. And here we calculate it as the variance of the group averages, and we can use this formula. So again, here we have the average inside each group. This is the average of each group minus the total average of all the companies square times the number of companies in each group divided by the total number of companies, basically. So this is the variance between the groups. So once again, we have, in our case, we have 3 groups, and in each group we need to calculate the average inside. Then we need to calculate the total average square times the number of companies in each group, and divide it by the total number of all companies. And now we can already start the calculation. But before, maybe I can still ask you a question if it's all clear for you so far, because I think you should understand it already from statistics. So hopefully yes. And how to make the calculation. So basically it's easy. So we start like this. So we take, for example, location A, and we calculate the average sales firstly, and then we calculate the variance. So the average sales are like this, 131,200, and then we calculate the variance, which is this number. So this is the variance and average in location A so far. So if you don't know how to calculate the variance, basically this is the explanation also. So you always take the sales minus the average, which is like this number, sales minus the average. Then you make a square out of it. Then you make a sum of all of them and divide it by 5. So that's how to calculate the variance inside the group. Then the same you calculate for location B, where we have this average and this variance, and location C, where we get this average 83,600 and the variance 70,640,000. And once we have the data, we only need to calculate the average for the whole group of all the companies, for all 15 companies, which is 106,800. So now we have all the data which we can use for the calculation of the ANOVA, analysis of variance. So can you still follow me, or 75% clear? Okay. Any questions so far? So yeah, can I continue, or do you have any questions? Of course, you can ask anything. This is about statistics. If I continue, and I think that's the most important step here, we can go like this, and here on the left side of the table, that's going to be the calculation of the variance inside the group. And on the right side, there is going to be the calculation of variance between groups. So let's see the first one. So the first calculation is done like this. Group A, there are 5 companies. The variance inside Group A is 93,360,000. In Group B, there are 5 companies. The variance inside the group is 32,240,000. And in Group C, again, there are 5 companies, and the variance is 70,640,000. So this is the data we already have. And now we need to calculate the average from these variances inside the groups. So we take 5 and we multiply it by 5, by 5, by 5. Then we take the sum out of it and divide it by 15, by the total 15. And we get the average variance inside the groups, which is 65,413,333. So this is the first part of the calculation of the analysis of variance. And the second part is the variance between the groups. And here we need the group averages inside the groups. And here we go. So this is the average for group A. This is the average for group B. And this is the average for group C. And this is the 106,800 is the total average for all 15 companies. So group A, B, and C, and the whole average. Then we take each average and compare it with the total average. So we deduct the average from each of them, and we get this figure. Then we take the square out of it. Once we get the square, we multiply the square by 5, by the number of companies, and we get this number, and divide the whole number by 15. And finally, we get this number, which is the variance between the groups. So once again, the variance between the groups is calculated as the variance of group averages. Variance of group averages in this case. So now I can ask you if you find it similar to statistics. So does it sound familiar to you, or have you seen it for the first time? How do you feel about it? Okay. So you basically know it from statistics. It's much better to calculate this exercise in Excel, because if you calculate it by hand, it's not so pleasant, definitely. And now, what is important? Now you need to decide, to choose which number is bigger. Which number is bigger? This number or this number? And it's easy, of course it's easy, but sometimes it gets more difficult as you get bigger numbers. So here we get bigger numbers, and it takes you some time to look at it. So which number is bigger? The variance inside the group or the variance between the groups? You can tell me, you can write me which number is bigger, variance inside or variance between the groups. I'm waiting for the answers. Okay. I have first answer. Okay, so maybe some more answers. May I get more answers if the variance inside or between the group is bigger? So there is one answer between, one answer inside. Maybe more answers. You can give me more answers. I can wait for a while. So this number is bigger or this number is bigger? The first one or the second one? Inside. Are you sure about it? So this number is like 65. The first number was 65,413,333. The second number was 378,346,000. So which is bigger? The first or the second? Inside or between? So definitely it's going to be the second one, the second number, this number, which means that the variance between the group is bigger, obviously. So as a result, we can continue this way. We can make this equation and we can say that the total variance is 100%. The first part, which is explained by the variance inside the groups, accounts for about 15% of variance. And the second one, the variance between the groups, accounts for about 85% of the total variance. That's the outcome. So now the question is, so what about the location? Do you think, can you say, or have we proven that location plays an important role? Does it influence the sales? What would be your answer? Yes. Actually, when the percentage is bigger, of course, it explains the variance inside the numbers, basically inside the whole group. In our case, it's 85%, which is a significant part, definitely. And in that case, we can definitely say that variance is variance is mainly explained by the between the group variance, and that's why the location is very important. It plays an important role in this case. So that would be definitely the answer in this case. So the answer, if you would like to see it, looks like this. Because the variance between the groups accounts for about 85% of the total variance, we can say that the location has an important impact on the indicator sales per square meter. So that's why it's so important. That's basically the rough calculation. Are there any questions related to this? Shall I put this exercise into the test, or do you don't like it? If you want, you can.
We don't like it. So.
You don't like it, or you do? You don't want to. You don't want to calculate this exercise, all right? So I will think about it anyway. But is it clear enough for you like this, or do you want to come back into something? I will definitely upload all the presentations on Insys, so you can go through it I'm not sure if I put it into the test. Normally, I don't do it because it's more difficult to make examples like that. But maybe I can make a short question, just some kind of explanation question or something like that. That would make sense, I think. But otherwise, I don't think this will be included into the test. But of course, I will upload into the presentation. Yeah, I'm not sure if we need to calculate it. Maybe I can make some more exercises for it. But now I would like to use the time we have left. And I would like you to calculate a little bit. I understand you mostly are at home or somewhere, so you can try. You have Excel, whatever. So maybe we can try to calculate some exercises about or on reserves. Do you agree? Shall we look at some exercises calculation? Okay, so basically we can continue with the presentation I had already before. So yeah, so this was the task or basically the explanation exercise from the last part. And now your task is to calculate the reserves for company 8. That's basically the aim. So your task is to calculate the reserves for company 8, both for the sales indicator and for the costs indicator. And you can already continue with where we have finished, but if you want, I can give you all the information concerning the average, etc. So that in order to make it faster. So this is the task, to calculate the values of reserves for company 8, for sales and for the costs. All right. And you can start just now. Do you need any more information from me in order to calculate the reserves for company 8? Just tell me. I can show you maybe more information. So are you working on that already? Yeah, I would like to have the percentages, definitely. Yeah, so the task is to calculate the percentages of all reserves for company 8, for the sales indicator, as well as for the costs indicator. And I can give you about 15-20 minutes time. And once you have the results, you can write them down, and I will give you the answers. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm here, and I'm listening to you.
Could you please show the formulas?
Yes. Okay, so maybe you can write down even the formulas for the sales indicator. So these are the formulas for the sales indicator. You can maybe write them down, or maybe I can try to open the presentation again, and you can go through it as you want. But I think it's better like this. Yeah, I can also give you, maybe, if you want, I can give you the mean and the standard deviation if you want. It helps too. So for the sales indicator, it was like this. Yeah, you can, or you can use these numbers. Now you can also use those numbers, the average, standard deviation, and progressive average. So these are the numbers. Do you want to see the numbers again, or just let me know? So I will show you the numbers again. Store number 8. Are you calculating? Is anyone calculating results? What results do you want to see? The average, etc. Okay. You can calculate it as well. It's not so difficult. Okay, so now I can show you the formulas again. If you have any other questions, just ask. Right. I hope you are calculating still. All right, there is already one comment that the reserve number 1 is negative. Definitely it is possible. In that case, when we have a negative answer, negative value, we don't calculate the reserve. It means that the company is better than the benchmark. And if it's better than the benchmark, it's above the benchmark, let's say, or below the benchmark, we don't calculate the reserve. So negative reserves basically don't exist, but if you have such a result, you just say there is no reserve.
Excuse me, could you please show the formulas for the cost indicators? Because I have already calculated the sales.
Definitely, yes. So let's see the cost indicator. First of all, I can show you the average, standard deviation, and progressive average plus the minimum value. So you can copy these values. And now I can show you the formulas. So here we go. These are the formulas. The first level and the second level. The third level and the fourth level. So once again, the first level is your value minus average plus standard deviation divided by the value. The second level is the value minus the average divided by the value. The third level is your value minus the progressive divided by the value. And the fourth level is your value minus the minimum divided by your value.
And one more question: what are the costs of the of this who is it? Manufacturer? Or what is it? The company.
Mm-hmm. Would like to see number.
Yeah, just like the number, like for costs.
Of course.
Thank you.
It's here.
A question. So if the company has negative reserve 1, then it means that the company has only second, third, and fourth reserve?
Yes, exactly. That's absolutely correct. That's correct. It means that the company basically is better than the benchmark, the first benchmark. Which is the case of company number 8. It's not the worst company. That's why. when you already have the results, you can even write them down into the chat window, and I can check it. And I will show you, of course, the results as soon as possible. I think we still have time. So any results? Anybody has any results already? You can post them if you want. We'll make a fast check, definitely. So you say the first level is minus 10.1. So basically, as I said, the first level, it's really negative. So when it's negative, we don't calculate it. So we say that company 8 doesn't have reserves of the first level. They don't have reserves of the first level.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Can I ask you, is it possible that in the second level of the costs, the result is also negative?
Yes.
Even in the second one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's check the results, but it's possible. Yes, you're right. It can be even the third level can be negative. Usually, the fourth level, in most cases, is not, definitely. But you know, the third level still can be negative. For example, the second best company most probably only has the fourth level. Usually, that's how it works. And the best company has no reserves at all, because so it's like that. It's all based on comparison. It's all relative. It's about relative comparison, nothing else. Yeah, the costs, again, you say negative, the first level is negative. So when it's negative, don't calculate it, basically. I can leave you time still. You can continue the calculation for a while, and in about 2 minutes, I will show you the results, so you can compare. What do you have? Let's calculate for another 2 minutes, and after that, let's see the results.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
If the reserve 2 is negative for costs, does it mean, what does it mean? Does it mean that the company has reserve 1 and reserve 4 because those are positive?
Well, basically, if it's like negative, there are no reserves. So normally when reserves 1 are negative, there is no reserve 1. When reserves 2 are negative, there are no reserves 2. then maybe you can just start with reserve 3 and reserves 4.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I can see a lot of answers already, so I can wait another minute and then I will show you the results. Okay, another answers. Nice. So let's see the results, right? So for sales, the first level is negative. That's why we don't calculate it, and we don't say anything. Just there are no reserves. For the second level, it was 2.5%. For the third level, it's 13.33. The fourth level is 25 for sales. I have seen a lot of answers, a lot of correct answers. So I still believe you are right. So is there any question so far? You can ask. And for the cost indicator, the first level is nothing, basically no reserves, negative. Second level is negative. There are no reserves. It means that the company 8 is better than the average. Third level is 1.57. It means that company 8 is worse than the progressive average by this percentage. And the fourth level is 3.49, which means that the company 8 is doing worse by 3.49% than the best one, basically. So if the company 8 would like to be the best, they need to improve by 25% in sales. They need to grow the sales by 25% in order to be at the level of the best. And they need to reduce the cost by 3.49% if they want to be the best in the case of the cost indicators. So that's the calculation. Clear enough? Yeah, so again, in the test, for example, when this is in the test and you have a negative answer, don't put the negative answer into the test, please. Just say there are no reserves, like here, just like this, no reserves. Is it clear? Is it clear for everybody? Are there any questions?
Excuse me?
I
want to ask, like, if this number could be 0?
Could be. Well, you know, in the case when it's 0, it means there are still no reserves because the company is not worse. Who can have 0? The best company. The best company has 0. You know, and because it's the best, and there can be 2 companies at the same level. So yes, some companies can have 0, but it usually means that it's still no reserves. It must be positive, not 0. Yeah. So when you have a 0, it means there are no reserves still. Any other questions? No questions, really. So you understand how to calculate the reserves. Are you sure about it? Everybody. Basically now we have 2 options. Option 1, I have 2 more exercises for calculations on reserves. So we can, I can give you one more exercise to calculate. We have 30 minutes left officially. And if you don't want to calculate, we can try to use the opportunity and finish. You can finish your decision in the Star Wars game, because I would like the Star Wars game to have finished as soon as possible and start the simulation. So just let me know. Do you want to calculate now? Do you want to calculate the reserves, or do you want to finish your decision in the Star Wars? And you can of course ask me questions. I will be here. I can listen to you if you have any questions. So what's your preference? To calculate one more exercise on the reserves, or do you want to work on Star Wars? Just let me know. Okay, I can see one answer. Finish decisions. All right. Still, I have 2 people here answering, so perhaps I need more. I need more answers.
Star Wars, please.
All right. So if you agree, we can finish the calculation of reserves just now. Thank you for your listening, and I am here. So basically, basically we can use the time, and you can ask me any questions concerning your decisions. I can even look into your decision from my computer, but I can't save it. Yeah, that's the issue. And concerning the calculations, the reserves calculations, yes, I will upload the file with all the exercises on INSYS, and you can see the answers there. So you can make your calculations on your own. All right, so it looks like you would like to finish your decision. So officially, I would like to thank you very much for your listening today. It's been a pleasure, as usually. And I believe we can continue this way even on Wednesday next week. And hopefully we can meet in person by the end of semester. I would appreciate that. And at the same time, I'm here for another like 20 minutes, more or less 25 minutes. If you have any questions, just ask me, and I will be happy to help you.
So can I start with the questions?
Of course.
I have 4 questions.
Uh-huh.
The first one is number of periods. How many periods in total do we have?
I think, officially we can have 4. We can have 4 periods. But normally I manage to make 5. So now we are in period number 2. So after that we will make 2 more or 3 more periods.
So we finishing kinda by the end of April with the game.
It depends on me. Yeah, maybe sometimes I can give you like 2 weeks for negotiation, and I can make it longer. So so basically, I would like to finish the first week of May, more or less.
Okay, so as I know, each period in simulation is 60 days, correct?
6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
Sorry. So from this, the next question is: we've been deciding yesterday about net payments, so payables when the retailers pay to manufacturers. So how does it influence for the manufacturers? Like if we basically it was like 2 months, and we changed for some of the retailers these numbers to 75, 90, and we even though made like almost 100 days. So how will it influence in the end of the period?
Yeah, of course, for manufacturers, it will increase the receivables in that case. So it will be cost for you. And so you are a manufacturer?
Yes.
So you will have higher fixed cost, definitely. So it will negatively influence your EVA. I can't tell you exactly how much, but definitely it will have a negative impact on your EVA.
Excuse me, can I ask you?
Yeah.
Also related to this question. So as I understood, the calculations are made based on the end of the period. But does it really matter whether we pay in 60 days, like as retailers, or in 75 days if the calculation is made after 6 months? So basically in the end of the period, it will be paid.
Yes, it matters. It's not so easy because it somehow calculates some average costs, average financial cost during the whole period. So that's why it's important as well. I know finally you get the money, but it also calculates the interest rate somehow based on that. So
and
so
also the money which manufacturer has, like turnovers, where to invest and so each day actually matters for the manufacturer, even though we have one period is 6 months. Okay. Then POS question. We actually have few of the POS at retailers. So, but the question is, we agreed that we don't pay them for POS, but we give them a higher discount for that. So in the Store Wars website, retailers can just put like 0 into of POS or 1. Let's say,
I understand. You don't want to like put money on POS, but retailers or into the agreement, you need to specify at least a minimum amount, maybe 1. Just put 1 there.
We put 1 actually. Yes.
Yeah, that's what we put.
Put 1 there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should work like that.
Okay, and the last question from my side is about macroeconomic factors. So in there we have those interesting numbers as inflation and cost of capital. We understand like inflation completely, and the question regarding cost of capital, which is 4% for the period 2. So as we understand it, that our fixed cost will increase, and we like have to pay like more money for inventory, and so more salary to the people who work in the on the manufacturer. So it basically increases the fixed cost of the production. Yep.
Well, I think the cost of capital, it's a kind of interest rate, and basically the cost of fixed capital is calculated as the opportunity costs as well. So basically it calculates the whole amount of your inventories, of your receivables, of your equipment, and the whole value is multiplied by 4% as the interest rate. So that's why it's mentioned there. It's basically the cost of the capital employed, because you can't use the capital employed for another purposes, and this is the explanation or calculation of the opportunity cost, in my opinion.
So by this indicator, we also can see that the market is actually increasing. More people coming to the city, people have more money, they're gonna spend more, and we as a manufacturer would spend more as well.
Yeah, kind of.
That's only the one question. This percentage, how influence for the manufacturer and for the retailers as well.
You need to understand the percentage as a kind of interest rate, which is the money you would get if you would lend the money to someone, basically. So this is a kind of interest rate which is applied on the value of your fixed costs. That's how it works. Finally, it It speaks about the market development, definitely. It speaks about the attractiveness of the market for foreign investors, let's say. But mostly, what is most important for you is, I think, how this influences your AVA. It influences directly your AVA.
In a bad way.
Unfortunately, but for everybody. This is for everybody. It should be for everybody. Everybody is on the same boat.
Okay, and the last question, very last, about the new product. So our manufacturer actually discontinues to produce one of the products from Woodles because like big loss. So we just clicked on discontinue, but we still sell it in the period 2 to our retailers. And we started production of the new product, like complete new product, and it will be start selling in the period 3. But yesterday, when we were making decision, we already put some money into the advertisements for new product. So that's gonna work, yeah? That when we will start selling in one period, the awareness will be
you can start it now. You can start selling the new product now, but you need to inform retailers about it. Retailers should include it into the assortment.
We did, but we decided that it's easily we will sell the same product as before this period and increase the brand awareness by the period 3. So
you should
that's
do it.
gonna work, yeah. You will put the money, but
I think so.
We'll start producing for the period 3 only, like starting from there.
That's possible.
That's possible. Okay, thank you very much. That's
you're welcome.
From me, yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, what if we had a product which we have canceled, but it had some inventory stock of it? What happens with the inventory?
It is you have canceled the product. In that case, the inventory is disposed, and there are some costs related to it.
Is it high cost or?
I don't know how much money, but
is it equal like to 1,500 if it was 1,500?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. When you have some stock left and you want to discontinue the product, sometimes it's better to discontinue the product in the next period and let the remaining stock to be sold before. Sometimes this is for both the retailers and manufacturers. It's all the same. Because when you have big stock, then definitely it can cost you a lot of money to get rid of the remaining stock.
Can I ask if the retailers actually has some limitation on the number of products they can sell?
No, I don't think so.
So one manufacturer can produce, as I know, up to, let's say, 6-7 products. So we can sell like those number of products, yeah?
Yes, yeah. The only limitation is the minimum shelf space. They need to have the minimum shelf space, which is 3%.
And discontinuing production of any product, we can still sell the rest of the stock if we will have it as a manufacturer to the retailers, even in the period when we do not produce like
I think I'm not sure about it. I think it's when you discontinue the product. I'm not sure about remaining stock in that case, but most probably. Sometimes it's better to like not discontinue the product, in the current period, but just to produce zero quantity, keep the product in your assortment, and once you have zero stock, discontinue the product.
We just did it this way, that we know from 2 of the retailers the number of units that they order, so we just produce exact number of this product, and then we clicked on discontinue production, so to not have a stock actually, but it wasn't like the maximum of production capacity, so some of the stocks can be like still in the end of the period too. So yeah, that was a question regarding the stock which remains in the warehouses of manufacturing.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
It's related to the negotiations process. When we open this interface of negotiations, it's not clear for me what exactly like the price promo is, listing fee, other payments. Could you please explain it in a more detailed way?
You can see it in the screen maybe.
Yeah.
So
like shelf-based compensations is okay, it's pretty understandable.
Price promo, for example, price promo means that you pay to the retailer some money for promotions, because in the final decisions the retailers can make promotions on all the products, so they just decide for how long and how big discount. And if you want to motivate them, you can say, okay, I want to support you with 500, let's say, on free one. And if I support you by 500, you are going to discount free one for 10% for 30% of time, let's say.
Because the thing is that in our interface of retailers, we calculated it as a percentage, like the promotion percentage and the length. So it's basically like a discount to our customers. But in this case, we just need to say like